Okay, so as in the last video, we have done a numerical which was based on the molecular formula and empirical formula. Basically, we were given the empirical formula and the molecular weight as well. We were supposed to find the molecular formula, right? For finding the molecular formula, we need to multiply the empirical formula with a particular number so that we can have a molecular formula, right? So for finding this particular number, we made one formula which is very important for calculating or for solving the numericals based on molecular empirical formula. So n is equal to molecular weight is equal upon empirical weight, right? So that was the formula which we used. In today's video, we are going to discuss a very important topic which is all about theoretical yield, actual yield and percentage yield, right? So what is our today's topic? It is all about theoretical yield, actual yield, and percentage yield. Percentage yield. Alright. Theoretical yield, actual yield or practical yield, and percentage yield. Alright. So let me highlight this topic. Initially, what is theoretical yield? We need to know what is theoretical yield. So the quantity of a product which is calculated from a balanced chemical equation is called theoretical yield, right? So what it is basically the quantity of a product, the quantity of a product which is calculated from balanced chemical equation, right? It is, of course, we know that the first step to solve something is to balance the chemical equation, right? So this is the quantity of a product which is obtained by the balanced chemical equation is what we call the theoretical yield. All right. And theoretical yield is always, you know what, I'll tell you that when I'll be discussing about the practical or the actual yield, right? So the quantity of a product that is actually produced in the chemical equation is what we call the actual yield. So it is basically quantity of the product which is actually produced by a chemical equation, right, or chemical reaction is what we call the actual yield. Now we are moving towards the practical yield. Wait, let me highlight this first. So what is practical yield? When we basically divide the actual yield by the theoretical yield, and of course if we are finding the percentage yield, we need to multiply this by the 100, right? So actual yield upon theoretical yield multiplied by 100 gives us the percentage yield. So it is nothing but we have the formula for finding this. Percentage yield is equal to actual yield upon theoretical yield. Right, in 200 since we are finding the percentage of it, right? So this is the formula for finding the percentage yield, right? Now the practical yield or the actual yield, we have a second name for the actual yield as well, and that is of course practical yield, right? So practical yield will always be less than the theoretical yield. Means theoretical yield will be always greater, right? Theoretical yield. Why is that so? I'm going to explain you now, right? Wait, let me highlight this. Practical yield will always be less than the theoretical yield, which means theoretical yield will be always greater than the practical yield, because practical yield is the actual quantity of the product which is produced in the chemical equation, right? So theoretical yield is basically the quantity of a product which we are calculating, Of course, when you are going to calculate, you will have an exact answer, right? Exact answer, right? For example, I have, H2 plus O2 gives us water molecule, right? Wait, let me balance this. 2 to 2s are 4. Wait, this 2 2s are 4, means 2 here and 2 oxygen. Okay, now it is balanced, right? When two molecules of hydrogen gas react with the oxygen gas, we have got 2 moles of or 2 molecules of water, right? So this is the theoretical yield which we have calculated, right? So now find the mass of it. Mass of water is 18. 2 into 18 gives us what? 2 8s are 16. 6 1 2 1s are 2 and 3 36, right? 36 gram. But here in the practical yield is basically the quantity of a product which is produced actually by a chemical equation, right? So basically we have 2 hydrogen, 1 oxygen molecule. Of course we know that it will going to produce 2 molecules of water, but instead we have got only 1 molecule or 1 mole of H2O. So here where has 1 mole gone, right? Where has 1 mole gone? So there would be basically maybe the side reactions may produced by the product, or some reactions were reversible, or mechanical loss takes place due to filtration, distillation and separation by separating fuel, washing and crystallization, etc. Right? There were some reasons why practical yield is always less than the theoretical yield, since we have side reactions which may be produced by products. Some reactions maybe are reversible, or mechanical loss takes place due to filtration, distillation and separation, or by separating fuel, washing and crystallization, right? So we have these reasons which makes the practical yield less than the theoretical yield. Alright, now I hope this topic is very much clear to you. Let me repeat from the starting what I have discussed, or what I have taught today is theoretical yield, actual or practical yield, or percentage yield, right? Theoretical yield is nothing but it is something which we calculate. Alright, it is theory. It is something which we calculate. For example, we have solved some numericals, right, in which we were calculating the number of moles, we were calculating mass, we were calculating volume in the chemical equation. That was basically theoretical yield. What would be the practical yield of it? The practical yield of it is something which is actually produced by the chemical equation, right? When we gonna perform that physically, right? So actual yield is something, it is the quantity of product which is actually produced by the chemical equation or chemical reaction. And percentage yield is nothing but it is actual yield divided by theoretical yield into 100 gives you a percentage yield. Alright, then we discussed that practical yield will always be less than theoretical yield, since theoretical yield is something which we are calculating. So of course we won't get errors, right? We're gonna balance the chemical equation. However, in practical yield we're gonna perform that practically in the industry or in the laboratory, right? So there may be some side reactions happen. That's why practical yield is always less than theoretical yield, or theoretical yield. Wait, theoretical yield is always greater than practical yield, right? Practical yield. Either the practical yield is less than theoretical yield or theoretical yield is greater than practical yield. Both gives us the same meaning, which means practical yield is less and theoretical yield is more. Theoretical yield is greater than practical yield or practical yield is less than theoretical yield. So this was all for today. In the next video we are gonna solve some questions from the Sindh board book.